What up, ladies and centers? Welcome to another Tuesday night edition of the Sin City Sports Show presented by IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. I'm your host, Cale Henderson. We're at it again. We're at it again another Tuesday evening where we talk Vegas sports. And guess what's on the rise right now? The NFL season. The NFL season is underway. As of tomorrow night, you will see your first live action game. Yes, it's preseason, but nobody cares because the NFL's king and the NFL's back. And that game, that first game is the Hall of Fame game in Ohio. Canton, Ohio for that matter. Ohio Field, the Memorial Stadium there. Raiders take on the Jaguars. We'll get to see our first preseason action of your Las Vegas Raiders. The Las Vegas Aces are still cooking. The Commissioner's Cup champions. I want to say hi to Adam Karnick for joining today. Sorry about your Chicago Sky, man. The best team won. Maybe. We'll see what happens when the real tournament begins, right? Darren Rodriguez joins the show. Good evening, Cale. Have an awesome show. Adam Karnick, hey, hello, Cale. Rock it out tonight. We always do that in Vegas. We always do that in Vegas. I don't care that I don't live in Vegas. I still live like I am a Vegas person. I love it. We're always gambling out here. Gambling odds, things that come out of my mouth I don't think about before I say it. It's all a gamble, man. It's all a gamble. Got a lot to talk about tonight. We're going to kick it off with the Aces. Then we're going to move into, I don't know, some current events, the NFL current events. You guys know what's going on out there. You guys know what's going on out there. Deshaun Watson, we're going to touch a little bit on that. I have to. I'm a little salty for various reasons. I'm salty for Calvin Ridley, right? I'm salty that the NFL is so inconsistent. We'll touch base on that. There could be some more Raiders rumors on top of what's happening with the Hall of Fame game tomorrow. One thing I love about this new Raiders regime is they're always trying to improve. You got to love it. There are some definite holes after some injuries, and we'll touch base on all that when we get back. And welcome back, folks, to the Sin City Sports Show, another Tuesday evening edition of the Sin City Sports Show presented by IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. I am your host, Cale Henderson. You guys can get at us on our Twitter forums. We use Twitter quite a bit. Pretty soon we will be adding a little bit of YouTube, a little bit of video. We're gonna call it Sin City Breakdown, right? Maybe that's not the title yet, but we're gonna talk about it because I'm gonna break down what I think will be some epic plays in every single Raiders game that either leads to wins or losses. Doesn't matter. You know how it is. We have to be as objective as possible. But I'm definitely going to make breakdowns on what I think won Raiders games, what I think lost Raiders games, what we should be looking at with our opponents. It's definitely coming down the pike. Ordered a little bit of software, a little bit of coaches film, so that's going to be fun to get involved there. Put a little more face to name with the Sin City Sports Show and kind of set ourselves apart from some of the rest of the shows out there because I want to make sure you guys have a full breakdown. I'm a coach by trade. I coach a youth football team. I actually run a youth football organization. I've coached high school sports and youth football for the better part of a decade almost, ever since I left college football for that matter. So that matters to me. Film breakdowns are kind of my nerd stuff, and I'd be happy to break down what's going on with the Raiders. I think that would kind of set the Sin City Sports Show apart a little bit. Before we dive into that, more details on that, and more details to come. Keep track of the Twitter, guys. Go to our Sin City _IESR. Follow the page. You can set notifications on. It's free. It costs you nothing, and you're going to get great content, I promise you, especially throughout the season. And then go to my Twitter page, at Cale _Henderson. Again, great content. Constantly interacting with people on there. Constantly resharing news that's out there surrounding our Las Vegas Raiders and anything Las Vegas. The Lady Aces, man, they're still killing it. They're like 22-9. Listen, there's only a few games left of the regular season. They just came off of what looks to be a 5-game win streak. They won the Commissioner's Cup against the very, very good Chicago Sky, the first place in the WNBA Chicago Sky, right? They've been killing it though. They've been a really consistent team all year. Every once in a while they lose a game, but I think a lot of that has to do with the minutes that their main players are putting in and not putting in on those types of games. They already won the West. Like they have a 3-game lead on the West. They'd almost have to lose every single game here, and the second place team, which is the Seattle Storm, would have to basically win every single game throughout the rest of the season to overtake the Aces as first place in the West. So they have the number 1 seed in the West as of right now, which is great. Again, they're the Commissioner's Cup champions. And Commissioner's Cup, for that matter, folks, it's a tournament that's going to be held in the regular season or towards the end of the regular season. I think it's an experimental thing, if I understand correctly. The NBA is looking at more tournament style things during the year, during the regular season, to kind of keep things interesting, keep viewership up. Yes, it's not going to be anywhere near as important as the WNBA championship or an NBA championship, but it is something for bragging rights. It is something that's going to help viewership. Again, competition breeds viewership, right? And I think that's what the WNBA is looking to do. The NBA is doing a great job of reading off of that, getting the statistics, seeing what they can do, and hopefully that starts getting integrated in the NBA as well. The Commissioner's Cup was fun. I actually did watch that championship game between the Aces and the Sky. I really do believe the Aces are probably the only team in the WNBA right now that really match up well against the Sky, right? I think they're the only team that could really, if they met in a championship game, they're one of the only teams I think that could really put up a fight against Chicago Sky. Because Chicago Sky, they're for real, man. They especially at home, 12-2 this year. They're crazy. 8-2 in their last 10 games. Aces are 7-3. I mean, they're a tale of two very similar teams. I think one is a little more fast break, faster, maybe slightly better shot in the Aces, and I think Chicago Sky just does a much better job of controlling the basketball. I think they do a better job on the boards. Because those ladies, man, they play big. They may not be huge, but they play big, and you can tell. That was a great matchup to watch, and I can't imagine what a 7-game series would be like in a championship setting between those two ladies. So between those, the Lady Aces and the Chicago Sky. So hey, again, and Adam Cardick, comes in. Gotta love that. It feels like we're heading towards a Sky Aces finals. Yeah. Again, these two ladies or these two teams are head and shoulders above everybody else. Head and shoulders above everybody else. Yes, the Mystics won tonight, but again, I think the Aces were resting a couple gals. They're trying to get their legs under them. A lot of mileage throughout a WNBA season. And yeah, you got to do what you got to do to rest your main players. If you know you have the number 1 seed, they have 3 games to spare, man. They're not worried about it, right? They're not worried about it at all. The roads in the West is going to go through the Aces, but I agree. I think we're going to see a Sky Aces matchup. What would be cool in the future is if they treat the Commissioner's Cup a lot like Major League Baseball treats the All-Stars, right? The All-Star Week in Major League Baseball is cool because the Home Run Derby, but the game is basically useless. So what they do, they made it meaningful by whichever, whether it's the National League or the American League, whichever one wins gets home field advantage, whether they have the worst record or not in the World Series. I think they should do the same thing with the WNBA Championship. I think that'd be great. The Commissioner's Cup winner, if they happen to be in the finals, should get home field advantage no matter what the record is. That's just my thoughts. Maybe it'd make things a little more interesting. I think it would also help with the competitive aspect of the Commissioner's Cup, putting something on the line when it comes to that specific game. That would be awesome. So just something to think about. What do you guys think about that, huh? Treat it a lot like the Major League Baseball treats the All-Star Weekend. The Commissioner's Cup, whoever wins the Commissioner's Cup, if they happen to make the finals, they get home field advantage. Or whoever wins the Commissioner's Cup, let's say, they get home field advantage, period, in the WNBA playoffs. What about that? I think that'd be cool. Home court, I should say, not home field. Home court advantage. Just something to think about. Adam Karnick earlier said film study. Just so long as we do better than Jamarcus Russell, right? Yeah, I mean, any kind of film study in general. Turning on any bit of tape and analyzing anything, maybe spending 5 seconds would have been more than what Jamarcus did. And then you know what? What we can do is maybe 15 years later we can cry about, how we didn't get enough film time in and everything was against us, even though the man was a whale at quarterback position, bigger than his left tackle. I don't know. I digress. I'm not going to go there. But yeah, Jamarcus Russell, what a piece. Man. Got me off topic there. That kind of frazzled me a little bit. That guy just gives me. There was one good game he had, and it was against the San Diego Chargers, and he threw a touchdown to win the game. That's it. Done. That's the end of Jamarcus Russell, the Hamburglar, whatever you want to call him. Guy was a Twinkie away from holy shit, to be honest. Anyway, Taryn, what's up, man? He says I think it'll be Aces Skies finals. Yep, it's looking that way. Anything could happen, man. That's why you have playoff games. That's why you have series. But yeah, it's leaning that way. They're by far the two best teams, and I don't really see that going any other direction moving forward. A little bit of current events. With that said, if you guys get a chance, take a look at the Sin City _IESR page. We retweeted one of my tier lists. I did the NFL tier list this year. It was talking about wins. Take a look at that. Give me your guys' thoughts on it because, we had, and I guess I'll analyze this a little bit since we have time in the show. It was like 13 to 16 wins. It's just a tier maker in general. 10 to 12, which I have a lot of teams in. 7 to 9, I have a lot of teams there too. 5 to 6, a lot of teams. 4 or less wins. I have 3 teams there, and Adam's not going to like it because I have the Bears as one of those teams. But the Bears right now, to me, along with the Atlanta Falcons and Seattle Seahawks, they just, in my opinion, have the worst rosters in the NFL. And if I think is what's going to happen, or at least the rumors out there, is the rumors out there as of right now is that there's a good chance, there's a possibility that Tevin Jenkins gets moved before the beginning of the season. If they do that, the Bears, I hope they sit Justin Fields because that's not cool. Not cool. Terrence says, I think your list is spot on. Thanks, man. I try to be as realistic as possible with this stuff, man. The AFC West is crazy. And it wouldn't surprise me if all 3 of the top teams are 10, 11, 12 wins, right? Because the AFC West is nuts. The rest of it, I'll put it like this. And I guess we have time, right? It's my show. I know I'm not strictly talking Vegas sports, but it's current events, right? I love these little tier lists, guys. You can go to, I think it's like make my tier list or create my tier list, and this is what shows up, NFL. Nobody's talking about the Philadelphia Eagles, and I don't understand it. They have one of the better offensive lines in the NFL. They have a really good running back room, 1-2 punch that's probably going to really do some things. Nobody's talking about Jalen Hurts enough because when you compare Jalen Hurts' first 2 years to Lamar Jackson's first 2 years, Jalen is either right there or slightly better than Lamar in almost every category. And he's not on the Ravens. He's on the Eagles. He's on a much worse team. But the Eagles kind of turned some things around. They had an excellent draft. They went out and got A.J. Brown. Dude, I'm telling you, the Eagles, in my opinion, are getting slept on. And I don't know why. I think they beat the Cowboys because the Cowboys always find a way to shit down their leg. Straight up. They always have Super Bowl winning talent type stuff, but they always find a way to crap down their leg. I think the Eagles win the division at like 11 wins this year, and the Cowboys go like 10-7. That's just my opinion, right? But I just think the Eagles are that team that's built to road grade people, especially if everybody stays healthy. Big offensive line. Go look at their roster, man. They're not messing around. They're not messing around at all. They went out and got Darius Slay at corner. They're going to be better there. I know that they need to go, really address the linebacker position. I think they did a little bit of that in the draft, but overall that might be their weak point. That defensive line is still going to be solid. Just in general, man, I think the Eagles are a really slept-on team, and they have a second-place schedule in the easiest division, one of the easiest divisions in football. I have little respect for the NFC East. Cowboys, okay, I got them maybe going 10-7. Adam says the NFC East is always hard to pick. A steaming pile of mediocrity. You ain't lying, man. Horrible division. Awful. So Eagles I have going 11-6 in my mind. Cowboys I have going 10-7. I think it wouldn't surprise me if like their last division game between each other really kind of decides that division. Bengals, I in my mind, dude, I think they got better. Their offensive line was their biggest question mark. They're taking advantage of Joe Burrow's rookie contract. Their offensive line got light years better. I think they got a little better on defense. That defense was really solid last year. It would be interesting to see what happens if they run the ball more, but they have probably probably have the best wide receiver core in the league, and that's saying something because the Raiders have Devontae Adams, Hunter Renfrow. You guys get what I'm going with this. The Bengals have Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, and I don't know why I always blow this guy's name out the water, but he was kid out of Pittsburgh, I believe. Either way, they have 3 receivers that I think could start anywhere, right? Maybe not be number ones, but Jamar Chase by himself is a nightmare. T. Higgins isn't messing around, and I think it's Tyler something. Either way, their receiving core is badass. I think they'll miss their tight end a little bit, but they'll be okay. Green Bay, again, the NFC North to me, they're not as bad as the NFC East by any means. I just don't see, even losing Devontae Adams, Aaron Rodgers and those guys, they still run the ball very, very well. That offensive line does a great job of rotating. Tyler Boyd, thank you so much, Taron Rodriguez. Yes, I think Tyler Boyd, Jamar Chase, and T. Higgins are a scary three-punch in the gut. I mean, you could run three wide every play, and it's going to be really hard to cover people. Mixon out of the backfield, again, I have my feelings about him and who he is as a person because of what he did before the NFL, but regardless, Joe Mixon's still a beast. You know, Joe Burrow's the truth in my opinion. That kid's just spunky. He could be the next Tom Brady. I'm not saying 7 Super Bowls, but that attitude, that moxie that kid has, dude. If what's his face, Josh Allen fights linemen, I could totally see Joe Burrow fighting linemen. Like, he just has that attitude. He's got the it factor. Green Bay, again, we were back to them. I could see them winning 12 games again. I just don't see it. I don't see anybody in the NFC North really competing against them this year. Maybe the Vikings. The Vikings, in my opinion, have a pretty talented roster, just not Green Bay's level. The Bears, man, they need a lot of work. The Buccaneers, they seem to be getting injuries left and right, dude. Tristan Wirfs, their starting tackle, him going down and being carried off a stretcher. I hope it's nothing really bad, but it's tough when you're that big and you have to be carried off a stretcher. That usually means it's leg related or head injury related because those big boys are solid, dude. But still, the Buccaneers don't have a very tough division. I think the Saints are good. I think they're good with Jameis Winston. Are they 10-plus wins a year good? No. I don't think so. I think the Bucs still win that division and get a top 4 seed in the NFC. Baltimore, again, one of those teams that's just like, dude, what would they have really been last year if like half of their team wasn't injured for most of the season, if not all the year? Seriously, think about that. What would the Baltimore Ravens have been last year? Crazy good, man. According to Bulls, Wirfs was cramping. He got carried off a stretcher for cramping? Good Lord, man. Usually when you hear a stretcher, you think it's season ending. Okay, that's good to know. Again, that does nothing but help the Bucs. Tom's still going to do Tom things. He's going to distribute the ball well. I think they're going to run the ball really well. They'll be fine. They still have an excellent defense. Yeah. Baltimore Ravens, I could see them winning 12 games and winning the North. Like that battle between the Ravens and the Bengals is going to be awesome. It really will. The Bengals got better, but the Ravens were injured last year, and now they're back, and they had arguably the best draft in the NFL this year. I love Kyle Hamilton, man. I think he's a stud. He makes your defense that much better. So that will be really interesting to watch. LA Rams, what can we say about that? They could win 12 wins. They could have 12, 13 wins in their division. I don't think their division's that tough. I think Arizona Cardinals get too much credit. Nobody's talking about DeAndre Hopkins' 6-game suspension. I think that's going to hurt them a lot. I really do. I think that's going to hurt them a lot unless they really adapt to the run. I think that's going to kill them. It's going to kill momentum. Again, I got the Vikings, Broncos, Dolphins, Niners, Patriots, Steelers, Colts, Saints, Titans, Cardinals, and Browns, all the 7-9 wins. Again, anything can happen, guys. I'm just trying to give you my realistic outlook here. I think every single one of these teams has glaring holes. I think the Titans are going to miss A.J. Brown, and it's not talked about enough. There's no way you can bring in a rookie, even though he's a stud out of Arkansas. There's no way you can bring in a rookie and just expect him to do better than A.J. Brown. The NFL is just different, man. Veterans that are really good players, they're really hard to surpass from a rookie level. Yes, you still have the king, Derrick Henry, but injuries are starting to creep up a little bit on him. I don't think Ryan Tannehill's that guy. I think he's serviceable. I think he's a consummate pro. I think he does more than enough to get you guys to the playoffs, but I also think he has his hindrances, and we saw that in the playoffs, man, when he just threw pick after pick after pick. Honestly, he lost that game for the Titans. The Titans should have been in the AFC Championship game, but the Bengals hung on and forced Ryan Tannehill to make bad throws. Cardinals, I'm just not a Kyle. I think Kyler Murray has a high ceiling. I just don't know if Cliff Kingsbury is the coach that's going to unlock all of his potential. Okay, and it doesn't help that one of the best wide receivers, like top 2 arguably, is going to be out for 6 games. I think that hurts your team. The Deshaun Watson situation, we'll get into that in a little bit. The the Browns, man, if Deshaun Watson 6 games, and I'll say it like this. This is my opinion, and we'll talk about this a little more in depth. I think if anybody appeals, he gets more games. Because what nobody realizes is Roger Goodell, at the end of the day, is the judge, jury, and executioner in the NFL per CBA. That's one of those crappy things about the CBA that the NFL players could never get leverage on. Roger Goodell is going to make punishment decisions, okay? Listen, a judge, I think, did the best she possibly could. There was no evidence out there that said that he maliciously attacked or sexually assaulted women. Nothing, no evidence, okay? What's sketchy is the 25 cases that were brought to the attention of the court system. That is what everybody's kind of hanging their hat on, and I think that is what ultimately made her decide that, hey, where there's smoke, there's possibly fire. I don't have an area that I can pinpoint that started the fire, right? She just didn't have that kind of evidence. She didn't see that there was arson within that building of the 25. And listen, they deserve their voices. I'm not disrespecting anybody. I'm trying to be respectful about it. But where there's smoke, there's fire. 25 cases is 25 cases. That doesn't happen overnight. That doesn't happen by itself. Maybe there's things that we just don't know about Deshaun Watson. And he comes off as a great guy, but this 6 games I think is going to cost the Browns probably the NFC North, because they had the ability to win the NFC North with Deshaun Watson. Amari Cooper, Deshaun Watson, you have Nick Chubb, that excellent offensive line. Come on, man. That defense is full of studs. If it's a 3-game suspension, which I don't think it will be, you're not going to get less than 6. There's no way after looking at the Zeke suspension. That's the other thing. Look at the NFL's track history or track record of suspending players. None of those suspensions make sense. They don't. Majority of them don't make sense at all. So I think if anything happens, if the NFL decides to appeal, yes, the NFLPA can sue. But if the NFLPA sues, that just opens the door for more discovery and more, investigation. And I don't think they'll do that. I think if the NFL appeals, the NFLPA will just say, hey, can we try and just add a fine to this 6-game suspension? I personally, in my opinion, I said 6 games from the very beginning. It wouldn't surprise me if it gets moved to 8. And I think that's reasonable. I think nearly half the season is reasonable for that type of behavior. Yes, there's no tangible proof at this time, but 25 cases is kind of alarming. So in my opinion, I think he should be suspended for 8 games without pay. Right? Right now it's 6. If it stays at 6, okay, cool. I think it's an injustice for sexual victims out there for sure. But in my opinion, it wouldn't surprise me if it gets raised to 8, because Roger Goodell and them, they're going to hear the public outcry that's going on out there. You have places and organizations that are designed to help relieve and provide assistance to folks or victims of sexual violence speaking outright and saying that the NFL needs to do more. It would not surprise me if Roger Goodell, who runs a business that's a license to print money, will look at that from a PR perspective and say, yeah, we need to appeal this. We need to add a couple more games. Period. In my opinion. And make him probably do some sort of community outreach thing like they did with Michael Vick and the dogs and stuff like that. So that's my opinion. That's what I think. 5 to 6 wins. I had the Panthers, Lions, who I think did get better. But listen, Jared Goff, that's all I have to say. Jaguars, they spent a lot of money. Doesn't mean they're going to do much better. I think they're in a division with 2 teams that are kind of run-heavy, physical juggernauts, and I'm not sure the Jaguars are ready for that just yet. Washington Commanders, I think they're cheeks. Other than Terry McLaurin and that defensive line, I don't really like them. So I put them at 5 to 6 wins, but Ron Rivera and Jack Del Rio are decent coaches, so they'll figure something out. Jets improved. I think the Giants improved. The Texans with Lovie Smith. Lovie Smith's a hell of a coach, and I don't think he gets enough credit. I think they improved through their draft as well. So I could see 5 to 6 wins there. The teams that I have 4 or less are the Seahawks, which I believe is just a crap roster. I think they're playing for the number 1 overall pick. They want Bryce Love. It wouldn't surprise me if that happens. Brian Flores, and I'm going to say this now, Brian Flores is the coach of the Seattle Seahawks for the 2023 season, because I just don't see Pete Carroll surviving all this. I just don't. I know he's got a history there, but it's been a long time since that Super Bowl win, almost 10 years. Sometimes it's good to have a fresh face in there. Brian Flores would be great. Brian Flores would be great with a brand new young quarterback that's a stud out of Alabama and Bryce Young. It wouldn't surprise me at all if that turn of events. Because Brian Flores, say what you want, and the Miami Dolphins fan that heckled me on Twitter, I welcome it. Thank you. I think you're wrong. Brian Flores was a hell of a coach. You can tell that he had a lot working against him. Horrible offensive line that the GM just didn't put offensive linemen out there. The GM picked Tua over Herbert. We all know that Herbert should have been the guy. Yeah, I just don't like it. Adam chimes in saying, in my opinion, I think Watson should be done for the minimum of the season. A lot of people feel that way, man. A lot of people feel that way. I don't think it'll happen based on the NFL and their inconsistency is what I'm trying to say. I'm just trying to be realistic. I want to approach it from both sides of the coin because I see it both ways. My heart goes out to the victims out there that are seeing this and it's being thrown over the airwaves and they're reliving what they're reliving and understanding that their voice is being diminished by this because 25 women approached this situation and nothing but 6 games came of it. There was no legal ramifications, nothing like that. This is just a 6-game suspension ordered by a judge because they couldn't find enough proof or damning evidence to do anything other than that, right? Which is super weird that it happens like that, but that's kind of what happens when an arbitrator gets involved. And then on Watson's side, again, there was no tangible proof that said that he did what he did. It's just what's working against him, in my opinion, is the 25 lawsuits. I think it killed it. If it was 3 or 4, I don't think we see a suspension. Maybe we do because of the Zeke situation and in the past and all that stuff, but I don't think we see a suspension. The fact that it was 20 or more opened the NFL's eyes and said, you know what, there's something here. I think that opened the arbitrator's eyes. I personally think this judge or the arbitrator did the best she possibly could with what she had to offer. I think she sent a statement regarding that they didn't really have proof. I think she sent a statement. And I think that 6 games could grow to 8 because Roger Goodell doesn't mess around, man. And I do believe that those organizations out there that are there to assist those who are victims of sexual violence, assault, I think their outcry is going to be heard. That's my opinion. If it isn't, I think the NFL drops the ball. Another thing I don't want to see is Robert Kraft talk about this stuff, okay? Robert Kraft should just shut up and stay out of social media. He's not really one to talk. Yes, he didn't have 25 situations, but he had one video in a massage parlor. I put that in quotations. Come on, man. Stop. Robert Kraft. You weirdo billionaire. Just shut up and stay out of it. All right, folks, when we get back, we're going to continue with the current events because we have a little bit more news to talk about. I want to give a shout out to the boys in the chat. And when we get back, we'll continue with let's see here. We want to talk about the Miami Dolphins. We're going to dive into that. I know this is a Vegas sports show, but NFL current events is huge. Then we're going to finish up with the Raiders and some of the news that we're hearing out there out of training camp, possible trade. I don't know. Could see it. When we get back, we'll touch base.
Sports fans, do you like teams that are tough, cities that are tougher, and fan bases that are passionate about their teams? How about teams that are historic and stadiums that are iconic? Then you belong in Chicago, and you need to check out Chi-Town Weekly. Join me, Adam Kernan, every week as we keep up with all things Chicago sports. Bears, Bulls, Blackhawks, Cubs, White Sox. We'll cover them all, plus more. The Windy City is always buzzing, and we'll keep you up on all the big games and major stories. So tune in to Chi-Town Weekly every week right here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
the shores of the Puget Sound to the rushing waters of the Columbia River, stretching across the Great Cascades, and on IE Sports Radio lives the Northwest Territory Sports Show, hosted by me, Brad Buckingham. On this show, I cover all the great collegiate and professional sport teams that we have here in the Pacific Northwest. Of course, I'm talking about the Seattle Seahawks, Seattle Mariners, Sounders, and even the Seattle Kraken. But I can't forget all of that is good in Oregon either. I got the Trailblazers, the Oregon Ducks, the Beavers, even the Timbers, and much, much more. You can listen to the show every Sunday from 3 to 4 p.m. Eastern, noon to 1 p.m. Pacific on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
What's happening, sports fans? Are you a fan of Southern California sports? Are you looking for a show hotter than a hot summer day in California? Then look no further than the SoCal Supreme Sports Show, where I talk about all things Southern California sports. That's right, all sports teams from Southern California. From the hard-hitting tackles of the NFL, to the killer crossovers and big three-pointers of the NBA and WNBA, to the grand slams of the MLB, to the bone-chilling goals of the NHL, and to the booming kicks of the MLS, the SoCal Supreme Sports Show has it all for you. Oh, and let us not forget about the college sports as well. So join me, Taryn Rodriguez, every week here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
Everybody, this is Taryn Rodriguez. Are you a fan of volleyball? Are you a fan of Thunderous Spikes? Then I have the show for you, Set Point, where I cover NCAA men's and women's volleyball, high school boys and girls volleyball, beach volleyball, and even professional volleyball. Catch the action every week here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
Hello, ladies and sinners. Hello, sports fans around the world. Hello, IE Sports family. This is Cale Henderson, the host of IE Vegas, the Sin City Sports Show, presented by IE Sports Radio. If you folks are interested in sports in the Vegas area, if you're wanting to have a blast for 1 hour, every Tuesday night from 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time to 8 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, this is a show built for the Vegas sports fans, where we feature the Las Vegas Raiders, the Las Vegas Golden Knights, the Las Vegas Aces, and the University of Las Vegas, Nevada Rebels. Hopefully, fingers crossed, MLB team coming soon. Either way, if you folks are looking to have a blast for 1 hour each and every week, tune in Tuesday, 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time to 8 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. If you folks are interested in Vegas sports news, go to our Twitter, at SinCities_IESR, and you can speak with me, the host, Cale Henderson, at Cale_Henderson on Twitter, at any time. Be happy to reply. Always want to reach out to our fans. Again, the Sin City Sports Show, presented by IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back from the break. Welcome back to the Sin City Sports Show, presented by IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. I'm your host, Cale Henderson. My bad on playing the Sin City drop. I couldn't help it, but shout out to Taryn Rodriguez, Adam Karnick. Taryn Rodriguez is the host of Set Point, the SoCal Sports Show. Adam Karnick is the host of the Neutral Zone, as well as Chi-Town Weekly. Guys, make sure you guys get a chance to check out their shows. It's on Spreaker. They kick ass. They're great teammates. They do a great job. Another one I want to make a shout out to, because Davidson Crooks always likes all my tweets, man. Guy's a savage. He's a savage on the internet, man. He's a savage on Twitter. Thank you guys so much. Thank you, Davidson. He's the host of Fast Break. Give him some love, too. Check him out on Spreaker. These guys are some very good content creators. We're all on the rise. Give us a shot, all right? Listen to our pods. We know what we're doing. Listen to our live shows. We love what we do. Shout out to you guys, man. Thank you guys so much for always being in the chat and checking in on me, huh? Real quick, we're going to talk about a sponsor. One of our sponsor reads. IE Sports Radio. The world is, you know what? This is what we're looking at. For the past 8 years, IE Sports Radio has been bringing you amazing content ranging from interviewing legendary athletes to building tailor-made shows dedicated to all major sports cities around the country. All the while, we've continued to be by the fans, for the fans, and with your help, we're ready to take the next step. When you go to our website, iesportsradio.com, you'll see our Patreon link with 5 different tiers. The first one starting at just $5 a month. This donation gets you shout-outs on all 32 of our shows. Higher tiers include IE Sports Radio merchandise, access to our podcasting university, and even a chance to be featured on our segment of our flagship show, The Defining Moment, hosted by Larry B., the man, the myth, the legend himself. Thank you all very much for continuing to make IE Sports Radio your direct feed for all that is sports. Again, shout out to Taryn Rodriguez, who's in the chat, Adam Karnick, hosts of shows here on IE Sports Radio, and shout out to Davidson Crooks. You guys always do a great job of supporting me and supporting the Sin City Sports Show. Thank you for being great teammates. So quick recap, we talked about the Aces. We talked about Deshaun Watson. By the way, just adding on to that, it does look like, according to Pro Football Network, they believe that the NFL will appeal the decision within the next couple days. Although this is the most significant punishment ever imposed on an NFL player for allegations of nonviolent sexual conduct, Mr. Watson's pattern of conduct is more egregious than any before ever reviewed by the NFL, Robinson stated in a 16-page ruling. Sue Robinson was the judge who was the appointed disciplinary officer for the NFL. She is the one who made the ruling on the 6 games. That's pretty disturbing when you read that, honestly. But I've been kind of saying this stuff on the show. You guys know that we've touched base on that on the web, on the Twitter media. I've been on all over this when it comes to the 6-game suspension. I thought that it would be the start. I've said that in most cases because of the pattern with the NFL. Zeke had 6 games. DeAndre Hopkins has 6 games. None of these guys have anything to do with, sexual assault and stuff like that. But still, it's one of those things where the NFL has an inconsistent pattern of punishments, and this is one of them. But I do believe that there will be an appeal, and I do believe a couple more games will be added on. And that's fair to me. That's definitely fair. I know it's non-violent, but dude, this is weird, man. It's almost Predator-like. I don't want to say that about somebody, but 25 people, 25 different massage parlor, 25 different females. Come on, man. That just gets weird. I don't know. There's something to that. And I don't blame anybody for thinking differently, right? Next thing I want to talk to you guys about is the Miami Dolphins. The Miami Dolphins, I don't know if you guys had a chance to talk about that. Or have you guys had a chance to read up on that? The Miami Dolphins were basically, after an investigation by the NFL and the conduct and integrity of the game, that Roger Goodell talks about when he makes his punishments, they decided to strip the Miami Dolphins of draft picks. And that was because they believed that basically Brian Flores was telling the truth when the Miami Dolphins were essentially asking him to lose games and offering him money in order to do so to get a better draft position. I had a Miami Dolphins fan in my Twitter mentions earlier today stating that Brian Flores was basically a piece. He's a horrible head coach. The funny part is nobody but this guy and maybe other Miami Dolphins fans believe that, because the rest of sports media thinks Brian Flores will be a top head coaching candidate next year. He's a defensive assistant for the Steelers right now. I think a lot of that has to do with the fact that people just wanted to know what was going to happen with this investigation before it moved forward, because they're looking at him like he's a whistleblower. That's not the case at all. He's sticking up for African American coaches everywhere, and honestly, they don't get a fair shake. The Rooney Rule is a joke. We've talked about that here on the show as well. Very early shows. The Rooney Rule is an absolute joke. There needs to be more that needs to be done. I'll say it like this. I think Brian Flores is an excellent coach. I think the Miami Dolphins had easily like some of the worst flaws in their division. They still were very competitive. You could tell that team was always prepared. They were always competitive. No matter what, they knew what was coming. They played really well for their coach. Yeah, maybe the atmosphere was a little more businesslike than what Miami likes, because the guy came from New England. What do you expect? Regardless, the dude knows how to win, and I think he'll go somewhere. Like if he takes over the Seahawks with a brand new quarterback and all those draft picks and money assets and everything they're going to have over the coming years, and Snyder or whoever's still the GM at that time, as long as they don't screw it up, man, they could do work in Seattle. And I'm calling that now. I think Brian Flores in Seattle makes a ton of sense. Adam Karnick chimes in and says, honest question, Kale, no sarcasm here. Which division is harder to pick this year, the AFC West or the AFC North? Dude. Oh, that's a great question. Like I said before, I think the Bengals got better. I think their weakest point was their offensive line. What they do, they went out and they took care of that. Right? They signed what I think La'el Collins was the top tackle. Other than Teron Armstead, I think La'el Collins was the top right tackle in this free agency period. They went out and got a guard. I think they're better. And if they somehow find a way to get J.C. Treader as their center, I think the NFL should be on notice. The Ravens were riddled with injuries last year. Really, really good football team. Lamar Jackson, if he's healthy, and the contract situation doesn't become a distraction, they're going to be really good because they run the ball extremely well. They still have Hayden Hurst, I'm sorry, I don't know, I'm blanking. Hayden Hurst is now, I think, Atlanta Falcon. Regardless, they have a good tight end. The receiving core of the Ravens is what's sketchy, but you don't need it, honestly, when you play the defense the way the Ravens do. Personally, Adam, and this is just my opinion, like I love my Raiders, but I think the AFC West, those teams are better than I think all of those teams, with the exception of maybe the Broncos, are better than any of the AFC North teams right now. I understand the Bengals made it to the Super Bowl, but overall, I think the AFC West rosters, Chiefs, Chargers, Raiders, I think they're better than anything there. And Pittsburgh, I don't know what's going on with their quarterback situation. If Mitch Trubisky plays anything like he did in Chicago when they were, winning games and going 12-4 with an excellent defense, because Pittsburgh does have an excellent defense. If they could find a way to really unlock that potential he has when he leaves the pocket and finds open guys, I think Pittsburgh will be serviceable. I just don't know if they can overcome the questions, because no matter what, Trubisky has a guy behind him who's the incumbent starter. Like Kenny Pickett one day is going to be the starter for the Steelers, whether it's this year, next year, year 3, I don't know. But Kenny Pickett's the incumbent starter, and Trubisky's on borrowed time. That weighs on a quarterback. He could either it goes one of two ways. He either craps down his pants and he lets Kenny Pickett, gain ground, or he balls out and we never hear about it ever again. Right? Just saying. I don't know. Pittsburgh is a coin flip for me, but I think if Mitch Trubisky does anything like he did in Chicago when they went 12-4, they'll be fine. They'll manage the ball just fine. And I think what other things people need to realize, I think it's a second place schedule and it's not a very hard one, because I want to say the Ravens didn't actually make the playoffs. The Ravens will have a third place schedule, and they're getting everybody back healthy. So that's kind of scary. It's uphill battle. It wouldn't surprise me if the Ravens win the division because of their schedule. The third place schedule helps them a lot. Even though Cincinnati got better, I think the Ravens could be a better team. They had the best draft, in my opinion, this year, and those guys are going to come in and help right away. That's tough, but I think the AFC West is still better. Period. Mitch is an upgrade over last year's Big Ben. Right. Big Ben just couldn't push the ball down the field anymore, man. He just wasn't that same guy. I think he was there 1 year too long. He should have retired, and you should have let them kind of make that decision. But, yes, Mitch is an upgrade right now over Big Ben. They have receivers too, man. Johnson, I don't know why I'm having a brain fart, but, yeah, I think Claypool, I think they have guys there. Najee Harris is going to get better. I think their offensive line got better. They have a stacked defense. Again, Mitch just doesn't have to screw up. If he doesn't screw up, he's fine. And the best thing is he's got one of the better coaches in the NFL coaching for him, because I think Mike Tomlin's one of the coolest coaches out there, and everybody wants to play for him for a reason. So it's going to be interesting, but I think the AFC West is a better comp. I think the AFC West is a better division. Miami Dolphins were basically they're losing their first round pick, and Stephen Ross was fined $1.5 million for tampering with Tom Brady. Sean Payton, basically he was like inquiring about them before knowing anything about Brian Flores. Yeah, I don't know, man. I think this kind of stuff happens all the time. They just got caught. It is what it is, and the amount of attention that Brian Flores brought on them didn't help them at all. So Miami loses a first round pick, and that's a big deal for a team that's basically in win now mode, and their roster isn't bad. They've gotten better. So hopefully that doesn't hurt, the new coach McDaniels and Tua and all them guys, because I want them to win. I think Miami winning is good for the NFL, but sometimes owners get in the way, man. And if I think the NFL kind of found it to be true, like they wouldn't have done this and it wouldn't have been this harsh if they didn't believe, other than the Brady situation, I don't think they would have fined them this badly and removed a first round pick if they didn't feel like Brian Flores was telling some sort of the truth. They couldn't find the evidence because, the IT guy was probably the owner's best friend at the time that all this stuff came out. But yeah, it is what it is. Rumors for the Raiders. I can't wait to talk about this a little bit, Adam. I can't wait to get your feedback on this. It seems like after last year's struggles with health, Tevin Jenkins, who was kind of forced into a left tackle role because Jason Peters got hurt, he struggled. His last few games weren't too bad, especially when the Bears were focusing on running the ball. But it looks as though the Raiders are one of the teams that are in the mix to trade for Tevin Jenkins. In my opinion, Tevin Jenkins was one of the better right tackles in the draft last year. I don't know why the Bears insisted on moving him to left tackle. I get that Peters was out, but dude, that guy is just different. He's not a left tackle, he's a right tackle. He's a tone setter in the run game. He's going to need help chipping ends, especially in your rookie season. So of course you're going to struggle when you're just thrown into the fire, right? I think Tevin Jenkins is a better fit for the Raiders offense. I don't know about this new regime that they have in Chicago. It could be, if they run the ball downhill a little bit more, it's better. But he said, Tevin Jenkins has somehow become the flavor of the day, hasn't he? Yes. I mean, he's a big, massive right tackle with an attitude. And I think he fits really well what the Raiders try to do, which is a downhill run game. It's gap scheme, right? It's an assignment base. It's not zone. Bears were very heavily zone the last few years. I just think that Tevin would be a better fit for the Raiders right now, but I don't know what your new regime runs offensively, so maybe that'll help him out. But I don't think he's a left tackle. I think they need to stop that experiment. Just let him play right tackle, right? Just let him go play right tackle because he's going to be a tone-setting, run-blocking right tackle for years to come if they allow him to grow there. If you're that worried about him in pass protection, you should always use a receiver or a tight end to chip the pass rusher and help Tevin take over. It's almost a double team. Then let that tight end kind of do a delay route or maybe seam down the middle. All I'm saying is help Tevin Jenkins out. Don't just put him on an island. That's horrible coaching. And I can tell you right now, he would play way better for the Raiders this year with the type of team we have. It wouldn't surprise me if the Raiders pulled the trigger because they haven't been scared to do stuff like that. Tevin Jenkins was a second-round pick. I think if the Raiders really wanted him bad enough, they'd probably do a conditional third or just give them a fourth outright, and I think the Bears would take it because they don't know what Tevin Jenkins is, and it sounds like there might be some behavioral issues on top of this. You tell me if I'm wrong, but that's kind of what I'm seeing here. Step into the Bears territory, training camp. That's what I'm seeing here on an article. Let me double check here. Raider Rambler, also Silver and Black Nation. Bill Williamson basically he's kind of chimed in. Ian Rappaport noted that, Jenkins might have had some behavioral health issues. But yeah, Jenkins put himself out on Twitter today. Don't believe everything you read. I get it, man. Honestly, I think he'd be a big loss because he's somebody who's got a lot of potential. And 31 other teams are going to want that type of attitude. Story is that Jenkins has fallen out of favor with the new coach and new GM, new scheme of zone blocking West Coast, and that's not good for him, man. He's not a zone blocking kid. He's a gap blocker, so he'd be a better fit for the Raiders. If that's the case, then they should probably do what they need to do, and just get the pick out of it. Because you're already going to be bad. Like, no offense, the Bears are already going to be bad. Just take the draft ammo and run with it, huh? That's my opinion. If the Raiders offer you a 4th or a conditional 3rd and like a 7th, take it. If any team does, just do it. But it sounds like multiple teams were involved with trade offers. The Raiders are one of note, especially with their new need at tackle. Alex Leatherwood is still kind of questionable in that right tackle role. Denzel Good retired last week or a week and a half ago, so they need depth at the offensive line. I still think Alex Leatherwood, as of right now, will be the starter day one of the NFL season. But if they were to trade for Tevin Jenkins, I believe Alex would be pushed back inside to right guard. Tevin would be the starting right tackle, and that would be a big, badass offensive line the Raiders would have for Derek Carr and Josh Jacobs to run behind. That'd be some scary stuff there. So I hope that happens. I hope they pull the trigger there. That'd be awesome. Josh McDaniels is excited for the Hall of Fame game for Richard Seymour's enshrinement. He's going home to Ohio. I think that's cool. Dude, Adam Karnick says, I mean, I'd love to have 20 picks next year. I just have to suffer through this season first. Yeah, it's kind of how that works, dude. Trust me, I know how you feel. I'm a Raiders fan. Just saying. Took a while for us to get the playoffs. The Raiders were horrible. I know exactly what you mean. Next rumors are Raiders are going to probably be looking at linebacker help, especially because Kyler Fackrell and I don't know why all of a sudden it's blanking. Kyler Fackrell had a season-ending injury, and then we just lost another linebacker earlier this week to a season-ending injury. It might help some undrafted free agents that have been turning heads make the roster, but overall, if you can upgrade the roster, go for it, man. There's just the problem is the linebackers that are out there right now, they're all 30 plus, and you're not sure what kind of oomph they still have in their body. I think the Raiders' starting core is fantastic. What I think is going to hurt them right now is the depth at linebacker, right? I think the depth at DB has gotten better, but man, any injuries in that defense could be in trouble, and they've been in trouble for the last decade. So, Taryn Rodriguez says, which AFC West team has the best offensive line? Dude, that is tough. Well, it definitely ain't the Broncos, and I don't think it's the Raiders. Personally, I think Kansas City has the best offensive line. You have Orlando Brown. You went out and got Joe Thuney last year. You picked up the center out of Oklahoma. I think his name's not Landon Dickerson. What's his name? Dang it. He was one of like my favorite center out of the draft last year. Huge, massive man out of Oklahoma, 5-year starter. He's like 6'5", pushes people around for a living. You have that kid out of TCU that's going into his 3rd year. He's probably going to start at right tackle. My gut says the Chiefs. I think the Chiefs have a better offensive line than they did 2 years ago in the Super Bowl. I think they're going to run the ball more. That's what I'm worried about, is that the Chiefs figure out they can run the ball really well, because that just spells horrible. That's going to be horrible for the NFL. Big, massive offensive line. I will say the Chiefs. Right behind them is the Chargers. The Broncos O-line is good at run blocking. They are cheeks at pass blocking. I think I'm talking about just best O-line, period. I'd go Kansas City, Los Angeles, Las Vegas, then Denver. Denver allowed 43 sacks last year, so Denver's not good. And their left tackle is bad, out of Utah. I can't remember his name. Garrett something. He's horrible. If CEH turns it on, yikes. I know, him. They have that Darrell Williams kid. Listen, the Chiefs are good. They don't get enough credit. They're still going to be very good. They still have Andy Reid. They still have Travis Kelce. They still have Patrick Mahomes, okay? And then they have an offensive coordinator that apparently nobody wants to hire as their head coach, returning for like his 6th season as a play caller. I mean, kind of a play caller. I think he goes half and half with Andy Reid. Either way, you have one of the best offensive minds in NFL history. I do put Andy Reid up there with top 5. That Super Bowl win of his with the Chiefs, in my opinion, put Andy Reid in the top 5 coaches of all time. Andy Reid is unbelievable. His offensive design has always been great, and that's what you have to worry about. That's why I think this division is just a gauntlet. The only reason I give the Raiders edge over any of these teams is they are going to be a more physical, more prepared team, because they come from the Belichick tree. The scouting is going to be a lot like the Patriots, and the Patriots have been a thorn in everyone's side when they have a serviceable quarterback or Hall of Fame quarterback, right? Say what you want about Derek Carr. He is a more talented quarterback. He may not be cerebral as Tom Brady. He may not have coached or been coached by the greatest coach of all time, Bill Belichick, Charlie Weiss, Josh McDaniels, 6-time Super Bowl winner. But Derek Carr has a better arm, better accuracy, he's more athletic. I think he's a carbon copy of what Josh McDaniels wants. And say what you want, man. I know that Tom Brady's the GOAT and has 7 rings because he's cerebral, man. He just knows everything that's coming. Derek Carr is the prototypical quarterback that Josh McDaniels wants. Otherwise, they wouldn't have re-signed him. So I personally believe, and they're running that Earhart-Perkins offense, which is about concepts. It's super easy for a quarterback to pick up, and it's no wonder Tom Brady mastered it over the years. Derek Carr has had like 8 offensive coordinators in his 9 years, okay? So I have no fear that he's going to turn around and be able to do it. Not to mention Derek Carr's second offense, I should say, with Bill Musgrave under Jack Del Rio was the Earhart-Perkins system, okay? It's about concepts, pushing the ball downfield, getting the ball out quick, okay? And it's built on a very good inside gap scheme power run offense. Like, he's one of the best play action quarterbacks, period. And he just inherited one of the best offensive coordinators we've seen in the last 20 years, period. So I'm not worried about it. I think it's going to be great. Rumors are, though, Raiders are going to add. Alex Leatherwood right now is first team on the depth chart for this Hall of Fame game. You guys get a chance, take a look at the Raiders depth chart. It's posted up on Raiders Twitter. It's posted up online. A lot of head-scratching guys, but again, it's the Hall of Fame game. It's a preseason game. We're not going to see Chandler Jones. We're probably not going to see Devontae Adams. I highly doubt we see Derek Carr, Josh Jacobs, those guys. Like, main starters, we won't see them. There's no reason to do that. Not for the Hall of Fame game. Maybe game 2, we see him for like maybe a quarter, a couple drives. But other than that, you shut them down and you practice the crap out of what you want to do against the Chargers come week 1. With that said, folks, please be on the lookout for videos that are coming, because I'm telling you, I'm going to break things down. I'm going to come up with maybe a better title than the Sin City Breakdown. But regardless, I have a subscription. I have Coach's Film. I'm going to take a look at it. Hopefully I can post those videos up without getting in any trouble. If not, I'm just going to do a video myself, drawing it up on a whiteboard and telling you what I think won and lost the Raiders game and what I think they can do moving forward. Hopefully that gains traction. Hopefully that sets the Sin City Sports Show apart from other sports shows out there. And in general, I just think people enjoy seeing X's and O's of football a little more than others. Sinner's Confessional, Adam said, dang, that's kind of nasty though. I feel like that's a little Sunday school-ish. Maybe I was touched a little too much, but I don't, it's great. I think it's awesome. That's pretty badass. Sinner's Confession. Woo! Adam, man. Dirty dog. Remember, Adam, we got to start thinking about doing some shows together. I'm not letting that go. I think you do an excellent job. Adam, Taryn, thank you guys so much for joining. Listen, folks, every Tuesday evening we come with the heat, okay? Raiders' first game is tomorrow, the Hall of Fame game. We're going to break that down. Keep an eye out on the Twitter page, all right? At SinCity_ISR, at Kale_Henderson. Going to do some whiteboard breakdowns, some simple things, maybe 3 to 5 minute videos, something that maybe you guys like. Let's see if you get some traction. I occasionally have okay ideas. Other than you're a Chicago fan, you're right. I love it. Folks, we do it every Tuesday evening. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. This is the Sin City Sports Show, presented by IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. I'm your host, Kale Henderson. Love, peace, and hair grease.